Hi friends, Robin here from Cheese from Scratch, and today I spilt my rennet all over my pants. Oh, I was so mad at myself. And FYI, rennet smells like fish. I never actually really realized that. I use it like a couple times a week at least, but I never realized until I like spilled a mass quantity on myself that it actually has a fishy smell, which is weird. Anyways, so I have to order more rennet. That was my last bottle. Thankfully, I caught the bottle and it still has like half of it in it, but right now I'm making a ton of cheese. I've got 2 cows and milk, so I'm getting about 4 gallons of milk a day, and I really can't afford not to have rennet on my homestead. So I really need to order some rennet, and I thought I would take you guys along on that process. There's 3 main cheese making supply stores that I really recommend, and so I'm going to kind of look at all 3 of them and just give you some options for if you are going to be going through those cheese making supply stores, which rennets you actually might want to buy. So let's get started. I'm going to do a little share screen and take you along on this little rennet buying journey. Actually, before we get started, I think it's a good idea if I actually tell you what rennet is, because maybe you don't actually know. So rennet is an enzyme used to cause quick coagulation in cheese making. It's a necessary ingredient for most hard cheeses, or actually all hard cheeses that I know of, and most aged cheeses. Almost all aged cheeses are going to have that rennet added in along with a bacterial culture. So sometimes people get a little bit confused about the difference between bacterial culture, or like starter culture, it's often known as, and rennet. They think that they are the same or that they do the same thing, but they're actually different things. The bacterial starter culture is responsible for fermentation in milk, which is very important for cheese making, and the rennet is equally important in causing quick coagulation in the milk so that you can actually manipulate the milk while it's going through that fermentation. You can achieve coagulation without rennet, but it takes a long time. So if you have watched any of my videos on how to start a clabber culture, you know that it is possible to get a curd mass without even adding rennet in, but it takes about 12 to 24 hours. And at that point, a lot of fermentation has actually happened. And so in aged cheeses, or most aged cheeses, and hard cheeses, we're usually wanting to manipulate the milk and kind of help it along in the direction that we want it to become before that point, before it has gotten to the point of fermentation where it's actually coagulating. So that's the reason why rennet is an important ingredient in cheese making. And though I make my own clabber culture, which is a starter culture, and I'm able to make that on my homestead, I actually buy my rennet on cheese supply stores because it's a lot more, I wouldn't say difficult, but I don't know what the word is. I don't want to make my own rennet. So rennet can come from different sources. It can be derived from the lining of a young calf's stomach. So usually that calf is about 2 weeks old and it needs to be harvested at that point for that rennet to be at its most potent. When you do that, you end up with a lot of rennet. So you could share it with your community if you had to harvest rennet in that way. So if anyone has ever read that book, Little House in the Big Woods by Laura Ingalls Wilder, Pa harvests a calf and he uses the lining of that calf's stomach to not only provide rennet for their family, but also I think his sister and his grandma. So it really provides a lot of rennet for them. But in this day and age, I don't know, a calf is really valuable on my homestead. Maybe like a bull calf is very valuable on my homestead. Maybe on your homestead, it's going to be a different story where it's more of a burden, and maybe you could make it worthwhile by having this rennet. But that's definitely something that I don't really see me ever doing on my homestead, unless there was like a case where the calf was healthy and it died suddenly at 2 weeks. So, for example, sometimes because we do have a large beef cattle ranch, we have about 200 head of beef cattle. Every once in a while, doesn't happen very often, but if it's really cold and all the cows bunch up together, sometimes you'll end up with a calf being crushed. And that would be the only instance where you found it right away and the calf was healthy up into that point. That'd be the only instance where I would probably harvest its abomasum, which is the stomach that holds that rennet. Other than that, I really can't see myself ever like butchering a calf that young. I would definitely get it to be a little bit older and harvest it for meat. So, I mean, you can like just like a lamb, you can eat the meat that you get off of those little calves. This is turning into a really long tangent. I'm not going to go anymore. You guys decide if you want to do that, but that's where that rennet comes from. Another source of rennet is vegetables. So not all vegetables, but certain vegetables like thistles, cardoons, nettle, what other one? Figs. Those are all not known sources of rennet. I have experimented a little bit with harvesting some vegetable rennet, and I haven't had that much success. Actually, I've had zero success with it, probably because I've been doing it wrong. There's not a lot of resources out there on how to do it, and really what I found was that you were getting more of a acid coagulation instead of an actual rennet coagulation. So instead of it happening quite quickly and you having that firm curd right away, you're actually getting a curd like 12 hours later, which I'm gonna get if I'm using my Clabber bacterial culture anyways. So it kind of didn't seem worth it to me. The other downside to harvesting your own vegetable rennet is that you need a lot to actually go a long way. Unlike with a little calf that has a really huge concentration of the chymosin that is in their abomasum, which chymosin is the type of rennet that young calves or young goat kids have. Unlike that, vegetable rennet, you really have to harvest a lot to get a little bit. So it would be a lot more work to be able to harvest enough rennet, vegetable rennet for the year on your homestead. Another downside to vegetable rennet is that it causes bitterness in cheeses when they're aged over 4 months. So it's not really for really long-term cheeses. Vegetable rennet isn't. So that's kind of the downside on that. And it's also just, I haven't successfully used vegetable rennet yet, but I would love to know if you're watching this video and you have successfully used any sort of vegetable rennet. I would love to know about that. That would be very cool. So drop that in the comment because I could pick your brain for days. Other sources of rennet are microbial rennet. So these are rennets created in labs, as well as something called that actually got a lot of media attention in the last year, something called FCP rennet, which is fermentation produced chymosin. Is that right? Yeah, fermentation produced chymosin. So what that is it's actually an artificially genetically modified produced chymosin. So I'm not an expert, so don't quote me on any of these things, but I did look into it because I was interested. So what FCP rennet is it's if you looked at rennet that comes from out of a calf's stomach, the chymosin rennet. If you looked at that under a microscope and you looked at this chymosin under a microscope, they are exactly the same. You couldn't tell the difference between them. So how they produce this chymosin is, I think, anyways, I think this is how they produce it. They get fungus, they genetically modify fungus to produce chymosin. So it's genetically modified fungus produces this chymosin, and then they kill off the fungus. So they kill off the genetically modified organism. And what they're left with is this enzyme, chymosin. So the actual product of chymosin is not a gen is not genetic it's not a genetically modified organism because it's not an organism. An enzyme is not an organism, but it does come from a genetically modified organism. So that's where there's um, a little bit of a maybe a scandal a little bit there. I don't know because they can't. I really don't know enough about it, but I think that they can't list it as genetically modified because an enzyme just can't be a genetically modified organism. It's not an organism. And so that creates a little bit of problems when you are buying rennet and you want to make sure that you're buying maybe pure calf rennet, but then it looks the same as this chymosin, and are they listing it as genetically modified or are they not? I don't know. That's the thing, that's the piece that I don't really know and I don't understand enough. I haven't learned enough about it, but it is something to be kind of like, about. But anyway, so those are your main sources of rennet that you're going to find available on the market. My preference is to buy pure calf rennet because I know it works really well with my milk. I know that I'm not going to have any bitter tastes later on in aging. And I don't know. I feel like it is just that's the way that in my cheese making practice, I try to go as close to how milk is actually meant to be made into cheese as possible. And so that's just my practice, but I try to kind of mimic everything that happens from the point that that cow has that milk in their udder until the point that that milk is in the little calf's stomach and the little calf is actually making that milk into cheese. And I just find like that makes the best cheese that for me, that's the kind of cheese that I want to make. So that's why I choose pure calf rennet. But you can choose any kind of rennet you want. And the benefit of, if you don't care about the FCP rennet, the benefit of picking that SCP, I think I'm saying it right, FCP rennet versus the pure calf rennet is that a calf that was 2 weeks old didn't have to die. And that you're actually not going to have that bitterness in in your cheeses if you're aging them over 4 months. So that was a big long ramble. Do what you want, but those are just some information pieces to kind of lead you onto where you might want to research if you are thinking about what types of rennet you want to get. All right, without further talking, because I can talk about things like this for a long time, let me take you on some of my most common cheese websites that I like to go on, and we'll look at the rennets that they have available, and then I'll end up buying one. All right, so the first one that we're going to start with is cheeseneeds.com. Cheese Needs is actually really close to where I live. It's owned by a lady named Tracy, which I love to buy from somebody that you know, so that's cool. But Cheese Needs is actually only a couple hours from me, so in Canada, Prince George, BC. So if you're a British Columbia person, this is the British Columbia Cheese Making Supply Company. So the reason that I love Cheese Needs is that they sell smaller quantities. So if you are a person that's not needing to have a ton of like bulk products or anything like that, Cheese Needs is probably your place to go. She has lots of different types of cultures, lots of cheese forms, lots of rennet, all sorts of different things. She teaches live cheese making classes if you're in Prince George, so that is something very cool. And if you have bought my Christmas cheese board ebook, we collaborated to have a kit that you can buy to make all the cheeses in that book. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, so I really like Tracy. I'm not actually going to order from her today, but I will show you what rennet she has. The reason I'm not ordering today is because I want to order a larger quantity of rennet than I think that she keeps on stock here. Okay, so let's see, just on the thing here, shop the store. And then her website's super easy to use too. So, and she's also a home cheesemaker. She keeps goats and runs the Facebook page Learn to Make Cheese, which is a really great Facebook page for people that are learning how to make cheese. So she's really good about answering questions and stuff. So if you ever had any questions or anything, you could either, I think, ask on that Learn to Make Cheese Facebook page, or you could just email her. So anyways, let's see here. So if she had the Walkern tablet rennet, I would order this. So it's out of stock right now, but I do like to keep some of this Walkern tablet rennet on hand. It works really good. And it also just stores really good. So it's recommended you store it in the refrigerator, like all rennet. But if you were like off grid or something like that, it would be a better choice for storing outside of the fridge. Would that be that tablet rennet? So I've used it a lot. It works really well. Make sure if you do use it, you crush the tablets with the back of a spoon before you try to dissolve it, or else it will take forever to dissolve it. So she sells this single strength calf rennet. I have used this calf rennet a lot, and it works really good. So that would be the choice that I would buy if she was out of stock of the Walkern and I was just buying a smaller quantity. So she has 30 mils and 120 mils, I see there. So here's that chymosin fermentation produced double strength rennet. So I like how she lists that it is the chymosin fermentation produced rennet there, because I'm not sure, I don't know this for a fact, but I don't think all sites actually list that it is the FCP rennet. I think a lot of times they just say it's chymosin rennet. I could be wrong on that too. I don't want to say anything that I don't know, but tablet calf rennet, oh, they have that too, but that's out of stock. Vegetarian double strength rennet. So what it means when you order a for strength is some rennet is single strength. Does it have the quantity here? No, it doesn't. Okay, I'll show you on the next website what I mean by double strength and single strength, but basically that's why if you're doing a recipe, I kind of recommend that you go by the directions on your rennet bottle, just because different rennets can be different strengths. So that is something to kind of keep in mind. And double strength is not necessarily double of single. So that just makes it a little bit more confusing. And she does have some tablet microbial rennet and vegetarian rennet, and certified vegetarian rennet. So tons of actually options for different rennets on cheese needs here. So definitely she ships to the States too. So if you're Canadian, States, actually I think she ships worldwide. So you could definitely check that out. And if you are looking for any of these rennets, she has them all. All right, so now we're on New England Cheesemaking Supply Co. So they are located in the US. I'm not sure if you can get them shipped to Canada. I think I maybe looked at it once and just shipping was kind of expensive. And we do have some good options in Canada. So if you're in the States, though, this is a really good option for you. And they carry a lot of different stuff. I also love this website because they have a lot of good recipes on here, and a lot of the recipes, I believe you can they've got like a buying list with them. I'm not 100% sure on that, but like you could be like, oh, I need this culture, and you could just buy it from the website. So that's kind of cool. I like also that their website is easy to use. So this is their homepage, and you can just click on Rennet. And they have a whole bunch of different rennets. So liquid animal rennet, that would be fine. It would either come from goats or calves, I would think. Yeah, so that would be a good option. And they have bulk. You could get a whole quart, a whole gallon. Yeah, I like that. So they have some really good size options there for getting that rennet. So that would be the one that I would choose. Now this one here, I've looked at this rennet before. I don't know this, but it's chymosin rennet, non-GMO, and this is what I was kind of talking about at the Oh, here we go. Maybe I should read further. Gluten-free pure chymosin rennet produced by submerged fermentation on a vegetable substrate. This rennet can be used by producing any type of cheese, hard, semi-hard, soft, mold-right, and low-fat. Okay, so I think this is actually FCP rennet. Because it is not a genetically modified organism, I think they can list it as non-GMO. I could be wrong on that again, but something to look up if you're interested. But this would be also a good option if you didn't care about that because it would cause you not to have bitter tastes in your cheese. Vegetable rennet. So if you're vegetarian and you still consume milk products, you'll definitely want to be choosing a vegetable rennet, or I believe you could choose a chymosin rennet. I think it would be because it doesn't come from, I don't know, actually. I'm not going to give you vegetarian advice. I believe you could probably choose that though. I like how they have the actual, they don't just have just vegetable rennet. They also have like thistle rennet. They've got some different choices around there. Yeah, they have a lot of different choices here as well. So I've actually never seen powdered calf rennet. That's cool. And I like the, um, oh, and there's paste. Oh, they have cool rennets. Cool. I've never used paste and I've never used powdered rennet, but they would work. And I like the brand Walkerin. So they, I don't know enough about it, but they were purchased by a company that also produces fermentation produced chymosin, I believe. And so they used to be like, I'm not going to talk about it. You guys look that up if you want to look that up. But there's some controversy around it. But I've used their products before. They work, they're good. At the end of the day, just get rennet so that you can make cheese for your family. Okay. Let's see. Now we're gonna go to where I'm actually going to buy my rennet. So we're gonna go to Glengary Cheesemaking. So this is Glengary Cheesemaking. They're located, I believe, in Ontario. So they're in Canada, but they do ship to US and Canada. I can see because of this little thing here. So they cater to more or like commercial cheesemakers, but I also have been buying ingredients from them since the very beginning of my cheesemaking journey as a home cheesemaker. So they have bulk products, but they also have smaller quantities. Yeah, so I like them. They also have, I think, a really nice website because when you click on any of these tops up here, it lets you kind of go down. So on rennet, I could just look at calf rennet. I could look at kid rennet, which is like kid goats, lamb, microbial. So I like that, but we're just going to look at all of them here. I think if I can do that, maybe I can. Okay, we're going to look at the calf rennet then. Oh, I think we got all of them. Okay. Yeah, so they have, this is the kind that I always buy. So see how it is coagulant 300 IMCU? Well, single strength, I believe, is 200 IMCU. So it's a little bit, you need to use a little bit more of that single strength to be able to get the same coagulation as the double strength. So that's kind of the difference between the two different strengths. And I say go with your recipe directions, but I say go with your package directions on your rennet versus the recipe directions. But some cheeses have you add less rennet in. So for example, like an Alpine style cheese, you're going to be adding a little bit less rennet in because you don't want such a firm curd that's going to hold so much moisture in it. So in those cases, I don't know what you should do. Just in those cases, just know add a little bit less rennet. But I usually say go by your package directions because at the end of the day, it just sucks to have it not coagulate. And especially when you're just learning, that's really a bummer. Okay. So I always order this kind. It's the kind that I've ordered from the very beginning. I like it. It's pure calf rennet. It's double strength. This is the size that I spilt on myself. So I spilt half this bottle on myself today, but I'm gonna order the 1 liter bottle. So the 1 liter one. So they do have all sorts of different, 10 liters. Woo! That would be a lot of rennet. Okay, I'm gonna order the 1 liter bottle. So rennet does start to become a little bit less active as as it ages. So if you keep it in the fridge, if you keep it in a dark place, that's why I like the dark bottle of this one. It's going to last quite a long time. Like I've had rennet in my fridge that's been like 2 or 3 years old, and I've still been able to use it well, and it's coagulating well. Everything's good. But eventually, you will notice that it starts to just not coagulate quite as good. So if you are only making a small batch of cheese, then order your rennet in smaller quantities. Because I'm making so much cheese right now, and I'm actually planning on sharing a little bit of this with some neighbors, which is a cool thing about it because shipping sucks. And as far as I know, other than the cheesemaking.com one, if you live in the continental US, you have to pay pretty high shipping rates for all of them. So I usually kind of gang up with neighbors who make cheese as well and be like, hey, we should just order together. So I've definitely ordered this one before with friends, and I'm going to share some of this with some neighbors. So I'm going to order the 1 liter one, but add that to my cart. Perfect. All right, so that's it. I've got my rennet in my cart. I'm gonna order that and hopefully not spill it. I feel like maybe I should put some in like a separate bottle just in case I spill the whole bottle. I've never done that. I've never spilled the bottle before, so that sucks. That's why I kind of like the Welker tablet rennet, because if you spilled it, it wouldn't be a like big deal. 5 second rule. Just kidding. You shouldn't use the 5 second rule when you're making cheese. That's silly. Unless you have really good starter culture, but that's another video. The power of bacteria. Okay. Anyways, thanks guys for watching this video. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. I post a new video every Monday on all things cheese making, dairy processing, milk cows, and what else? I think that's it. Yeah, so I'll see you guys next week. Bye.